Alright, so hello everybody, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're gonna take a quick look at our newest gunblade that was released with Deadlock Protocol, the one and only Corpus Stropha. So first things first, how do you get your hands on this Mamma Jamma? Well, the blueprint has about a 15% chance to drop from the newly reworked Jackal, and the other parts drop from Granum Void. The lowest tier of the Granum Void will drop the barrel and the blade on rotation C with about a 22.22% drop chance. Then the middle of the road tier of the Granum Void will drop you the receiver at 29.63% drop chance at rotation C, and finally the stock comes from the highest tier, Nightmare tier of Granum Void at about, once again, 29.63% drop chance on rotation C. Rotation C, by the way, refers to the number of kills you have to get in the Granum Void, so in order to get these parts you have to get the maximum number of kills in each Granum Void. Once you finally get the weapon, you will see that it's a Mastery Rank 10 Corpus Gunblade with 30% crit chance, 2.4 times crit multiplier, 2 meters of range, 40% status chance, and 220 damage per hit, with the damage being split somewhat equally across all three of the physical damage types. Now, when it comes to the heavy attack, the weapon fires an Arca Plus more light projectile that pierces and has pretty harsh fall off that starts at 8 meters, and it has the same supporting stats as the light attack, so 30% crit chance, 2.4 times crit multi, which is huge by the way, and 14% status. One thing that seems to be off here though, and by off I mean way off, is the actual damage of the heavy attack, because the weapon seems to be doing way more damage than is actually being displayed. Now, the build I ended up using on the Stropha, it requires 5 Forma where he adds 2 Vs and 3 dashes, and it's just a big boy, big damage heavy attack build. The stance doesn't really matter because we're going to be using heavy attacks, but I still prefer to run bullet dance for the light attacks. Then we have sacrificial pressure for the damage and sacrificial steel for a ton of crit on the heavy attacks. We follow that up with killing blow for more damage on heavy attacks as well as faster heavy attack wind-up speed. Then we have organ shatter for more crit damage. Then to have 2 times combo all the time, we run with corrupt charge. This is a massive damage multiplier for heavy attacks, and we top it all off with molten impact as well as primed fever strike and shocking touch for corrosive and heat. But if you're fighting Eidolons, which this weapon is pretty good at, you simply swap primed fever strike and molten impact to get radiation and toxin. Now, this is not the ideal setup for Eidolons because they are weak to radiation and cold, but to do that you would either have to run an Umbra Forma or you would have to drop the sacrificial mods and run primed mods instead. Now, when it comes to the damage on the Stropha, and this build in particular, it's not as high as it is on the Redeemer Prime, but it's infinitely more reliable. There is very little variability in the damage, and it's still extremely high, like you can easily hit upwards of 1,000,000 with this thing. Though there is one really weird thing with the weapon happening, and it has to do with the Corpus, because sometimes it just kind of forgets how much damage you're doing, so even if you hit like a level 5 Prodman for 1.5 million, they will still survive it because of shield gating. And for the final display of juiciness of this thing, I also want to show you its performance versus a Terralist.
Energy spike. Energy spike. Energy spike.
Now, I specifically did this with the arrows just so I wouldn't have any outside damage buffs, so this is the power of the weapon alone. You can do way more damage than this if you bring like Rhino with Roar or Oberon with his Augment or even Mirage. So what you just saw was kind of like the worst case scenario. Now, I know some of you may say, well yeah, but it's kind of slow, you know, it's heavy attacks, but that's the beauty of this build. You can use the light attacks because you have so much damage to kill all the smaller guys, and then if you run into something like a heavy gunner, you can wind up a heavy attack and just bloof it away. So yeah, overall this weapon is just insane. It's really good, and I would highly recommend you pick it up. It's relatively easy to get, it does a ton of damage, and you have some options when it comes to the build, because you don't have to build it for heavy attacks, even though I think that's where the weapon is at its best. So definitely pick it up. And that is pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you some other time. Bye bye.